Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Gulfstream Park here on Saturday. It is the 24th of January, 2026. It's Pegasus Day from Gulfstream, and I'm going to look at Pegasus and all the other stakes races on the program. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on X at Horse Racing Kit 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and I mean it around the world. Let's get to the action today from Gulfstream. It's a cold day here in New York City, but down at Gulfstream. It looks like it's going to be a good day of racing, so gonna hunker in front of the TV and just watch all these races. But we'll be looking at stakes races 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the feature 13. So did you get that? Let's get to it right now. The fifth race from Gulfstream Park, formerly known as La Proviante Stakes, now known as the Christophe Clement Stakes. It's going for it's a great three event going for a $175,000 purse race for fillies, mares, 4-year-olds, and upwards. We have a field of 9 horses going 2,400 meters or a mile and a half on the turf course. The rails are down at 0 feet for this particular race. There's two settings today: 0 feet and 59 feet. So just keep that in mind when you're handicapping these races. My top selection in this race, I'm going to go with the number 5 horse here, Fion. I'm going to go 5491 in the superfecta. 5491 super. Top selection of 5 horse Fion. This 4-year-old by Twirling Candy. Brad Cox trains. Flavian Pratt gets them out. They ran the horse most recently, 15th November at Aqueduct, Mouth Raids and Jock Club Oaks, and the horse won by half a length that day. She was crying out for more run throughout all of her races in 2024 or 2025. She finally got in her final start of the season, and she took off clear from the back of the pack. She quickened up nicely after some very harness times on the front end. Quickened up nicely, and she got the job done. A very good race. Should see quicker times to close up into off the bench here, training well. I think she's sitting on a good race. She ran two back in the QE2 Cup at Keelan, a mile on the 8th and the 11th of October. She finished fourth by 1 3/4 lengths that day. Not the best beginnings, were a little bit wide, but she was gaining. Like I said, I thought she won more ground off that race. And then the dueling ground Oaks at Kentucky Downs, mile 5/16 in early September, winning by a half a length that day, closing up from the back of the pack. She got there in time. That was a very good race. And then the Belmont Oaks was a very incredible run also. She's done everything right. She likes the longer trip. I think she's loaded here today. Second likeliest winner is the 4 horse No Show Sammy Joe for Jorge Ruiz and Grab Motion. Was winner going away in the local prep race for this one, the Via Borghese on Christmas Eve, winning by 5 3/4 lengths, closing up in the back of the pack. She could have probably won a run another 5 times and won that easily. A very good race. Prior to in the Long Island at Aqueduct over the mile 3 furlongs, she finished second by 1 1/4 lengths, where she gained a lot of ground. She just, if she had a better trip early on, she probably would have won by open lengths, but she got down the race course well after all said and done. And then she won the all along at Laurel. Not the world's toughest competition, but still a very good run. Back to a longer trip, coming here to this turf course again. I'm going to give her a shot on the ticket. To recap my selection for the fifth now from Gulfstream, Mr. Christophe Clement Stakes. Going to take the 5 horse Fion. Give kudos to the 4 horse No Show Sammy Joe. 5491 Super, 5-4 in the multi race. The seventh race from Gulfstream Park. It's the Gulfstream Park Turf Sprint. It's going for a purse $175,000. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. 13 horses are entered, but only 12 can go the distance of ground here of 1,000 meters or 5 furlongs on the turf course. I'm going to take the rail horse, the 1 horse out on bail. I'm going to go 111-10-8 in the superfecta. 111-10-8 super. Top selection, 1 horse out on bail. 4-year-old by Tiz the Law. Mike Maker trains. Tyler Gaffleone gets the mounts. Ran the horse most recently at Turfway. 6 furlongs in the Holiday Cheer Stakes. And the horse finished fifth by 4 1/4 lengths that day. He stalked that day, clipped heels that day early on, and he just really couldn't recover after that. Just kind of yielded off the bench. Also, maybe need the race. I do think coming back to a 5 furlong race on turf, drawn very well. You need to draw low on this turf course, going 5 furlongs. I think this horse could find a little bit better trip than she did last time out. She ran two back at Aqueduct, 6 furlongs in the Carl Place Stakes, and she won my nose that day. She had a dream cracking trip from the rail when they said go with this horse. Joel timed it perfectly. 90 Buyer, that was a good run. Eager improvement off the race before, which is the Franklin Simpson Stakes at Kentucky Downs, over the 6.5 on good ground. She finished 7 by 4.5 lengths from an outside poster as she left, but then she yielded. I just don't think she was 100% frank that day. I also think the white motion just got to her. And then they tried her routing in the 10 mile, the national over the mile, finishing third by length. She just, it took a little bit of time to get that race scheduled, and she just never was really into it. She had a decent place against the boys, though, in the William Walker, or again, in the William Walker, he ran very well, excuse me. But this horse is training will come in this race early on this season, or in his career when he was turf sprinting. He's running these good races. I got it again today at 10 to 1. run. I think he's loaded. I think the 11 horse here, Coppola, could steal it on the front end from the wide poster. He's going to leave, and let's see how far his pace goes. He ran here last season in the Gulfstream Park Turf Sprint from 11 to 12, and he won by 3 quarters length with Tyler Gaffley on up. And since then, he's only won once. That came in the an overnight six at Indiana on the 4th of July, where he won by 2 lengths on the front end. Since then, he ran a decent place in the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint preview at Ellis and came back to run a decent third in the Giannis a month ago here at Gulfstream. Probably be 100, a little bit more cranked up than the last race. He's training well. Give him a shot on the ticket. But to recap my selection for the 7th from Gulfstream, this Gulfstream Park Turf Sprint, going to take the one horse out on bail. Give those to the 11 horse Coppola, 111 10 8 Super, 111 in the multi race. Let's head over to race number 8 now. The eighth race from Gulfstream. It is the Fred W. Hooper Stakes. It's a grade 3 event going for a $175,000 purse. That's the purse monies for today, teams. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 9 horses going 1,600 meters or a mile on the main track. My top selection here in the Hooper, I'm going to go with the number 6 horse, Knightsbridge. I'm going to go 6129 in the superfecta, 6129 super. Top selection is 6 horse, Knightsbridge. This 5-year-old horse by Nyquist here. Belmont trains. Junior Alvarado picks up the mount. The regular rider on this horse doesn't pick it up. He's a regular rider. Most recently ran the Mr. Prospector here over the 7 furlongs on the 27th of December, winning by 4 3/4 lengths. From the rail, he broke on top and he didn't look back. He quickened up nicely. That was a very good race. He's back here off a 103 buyer last time out against his probably his biggest test of lifetime back to a mile trip. I think he can improve off that run and really get back to the winner's circle again today. He won 2 back in opposite 75 on the mud at Aqueduct, 7 furlongs, 22nd November. Won by 2 3/4 lengths. He was dueling that day on the front end. He quickened up nicely and he got the job at 98 bar. That was a very good run for it being his first start since the 15th of February of 25 at Gulfstream. One turn mile and opposite 6-2, finishing second by 1 1/4 lengths. He just couldn't get there late. He just got out game to the wire. And he ran his heart out. Thing with him is it just has taken him a little bit time to get going. It's going to be the third consecutive start for him off of some quick, basically a quick turnaround from his normal races. But I think he can improve off all those races. He's trading well pace, and I know it's a short price, but I think he's loaded here today. I think your second likeliest winner is a one horse Life and Times for Tom Fletcher and Jose Loscano. Love that they're letting Jose ride the horse. This 5-year-old going by Justified here. It took another horse, took him a little bit of time to get to the races, but when he finally did in November, he came home with a 104 buyer, went by 5 3/4 lengths. He drew off clear, came back to run on Cigar Mile weekend at Aqueduct, 1 mile allowance race for 88,000 with a 100 buyer, win by 6 3/4 lengths. Again, he came home clear. He's refreshing here. Stakes quality horses, very tough tests here, but he's training well. Let's give him a shot here on the ticket. But to recap my selection for the 8th from Gulfstream, it's Fred W. Hooper. Going to take the 6 horse Knightsbridge. Give kudos to 1 horse Life and Times. 6129 Super. 6-1 in the multi race. The 9th race now from Gulfstream, the beginning of the late pick 5. It is the William L. Mcknight Stakes. It's a grade 3 event going for a $225,000 purse race for 4-year-olds and upwards. Field of 12 horses going 2,400 meters or a mile and a half here in the Mcknight. A race in South Florida history. This is one of the, it's been running in South Florida now for probably the last 40 years or so, if not 50. It used to be running Calder for about 40 something years now, like Gulfstream for like the last 12 or so. And it's always one of those great races. Gonna go with the 6 horse Mystic Cut here. I'm gonna go 6-3-11-4 in the superfecta. 6-3-11-4 super. Top selection 6 horse Mystic Cut. The Several Goma Claw he rode. Robert DeBona trained this one. Edgar Zayas gets the mount. The ran the horse most recently on the 27th of December at Gulfstream. Mile 16th and off 6-2 claimer, and the horse finished third by 3/4 of length that day. It was his first start since May. He needed the race. He was a little bit wide that day, but he was closing up like an express train late. He just missed. He ran it hard out. I think coming back to a mile and a half trip on this turf course really suit him well, and I think he's improving. Should find a good trip. Watch out for him running late. He ran 2 back in the Louisville Stakes at Churchill, a mile and a half on the 17th of May, and he finished third by 4.5 lengths that day. He just stalked all around the race course. Around the far turn, there was a little bit of an incident where he couldn't, he had to steady, which probably cost him a better position. I don't think he was going to beat Utah Beach that day, but, he ran after all good after all said and done. And then the Elk Corner Keelan over the mile and a half. He didn't do running that day. He finished eighth by 4 3/4 lengths that day, and he just had absolutely nothing. From a wide poster, he just didn't show up. And then the Mac Derby on this turf course last season, he finished sixth by 2 1/4 lengths that day, and he was never near comfortable. His races in early 2024 under the care of John Sadler in Southern California weren't bad at all. Actually, won San Marcos, came back to win steadily with Ray at Santana on the turf course, and then had a decent place in the Elkhorn at 24 at a Keeneland after that. But then when they took him to Royal Ascot to run in the Hardwick, he really ran a shit race. But since his most recent race since Louisville haven't been half bad, to a longer trip at 6 to 1, I think he's loaded here. I think the three horse here, Ohana Honor for Flavian and Shug could win also. Was a winner in the Knickerbocker at Aqueduct over the mile furlong in late November. Won by 2 1/4 lengths from a tracking trip. He really came home well. His previous one before that, you have to go all the way back to the spring of 24 at Keeneland in a allowance race, where he won by 5 3/4 lengths, walking on the front end. He had a very good race going that mile and a half trip. He started once here at Gulfstream in the past. They came in the Tropical Park Derby in the fall of 2023, where he finished fifth by 2 lengths, where he just had a very, very wide trip. But I think he's a lot better horse since then. Here training well. Give him a shot of 5 to 2. But to recount my selection for the ninth from Gulfstream now, it's to William L. Mcknight. Gonna take the 6 horse. Commits to cut. Give 3 votes to the 3 horse Ohana Honor. 6-3-11-4 Super. 6-3 in the multi race. The late pick four now, beginning with race number 10 from Gulfstream. Let's get to it. 10th race from Gulfstream. It is the Pegasus World Cup Filly Mare Turf. It's grade 2 event going for a $500,000 purse race for fillies, mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 14 horses entered. Only 12 could go 1,700 meters or a mile 16th on the Gulfstream Park Turf course. This will be run in the inner lanes at the 0-foot setting. My top selection here, I'm going to go with the number 5 horse, Classic Q. I'm going to go 5-7-6-8 in the superfecta. 5-7-6-8 super. Top selection, the 5 horse Classic Q. This 4-year filly by Classic Empire. Marquez trains. Jose Ortiz gets the mount. They ran the horse most recently 20th of November at Churchill, a mile 16th in the Grade 2 Mr. Revere Stakes, and she finished third by 3/4 in length that day. She was setting some good numbers up on the front end early on, and then she just kind of yielded. The turf course was firm, but it was the softer side of firm. I think coming to a faster South Florida turf course should really suit this horse well. Speed favoring turf course also when you're drawing on this inner portion of the turf course. I think that will go a long way for this horse, and I think she could really improve off that little subpar race last time out. She came from the clouds too back in the Valley View Keeneland over the mile in October. Finished second by 1/4 lengths. She didn't have the best of races that they were. She had steady a few times and was stupidly wide, but she was closing up well late. Had a race after all is said and done. And then sprinting in the Music City over the 6.5 at Kentucky Downs. She finished fourth by 4 1/4 lengths that day. She was very wide, never getting into it. But her place in Lake George, where she just got caught the wire at Saratoga, that was a good race. And then she won the Wild Applause Saratoga on a lightning fast turf course. She's a winner in 4 offerings on this turf course. She won here last a couple of seasons ago in a main special weight in the front end on this inner portion turf course. She's training well. She has some speed. 6 to 1. I think she could really find a piece fit. I think for a late pick four scenario, the 7 horse Whiskey Decision for Flavian and Chad can win also. I love the win in the Eatontown 3 back at Monmouth, where the horse went away by 2 lengths from a tracking trip. Came back to run the Boston Spy after that, where she finished fourth by 3 lengths, where she just never was really into it. But then she came back to win in the Athenia at Aqueduct in early September. Won by 1 1/4 lengths from a tracking trip. She really came home clear. I like that there's time between races. Come to this turf course. Watch out for a late here. But to recap my selection for the 10th now from Gulfstream, it is the Pegasus World Cup Filly Mare Turf. I'm going to take the 5 horse Classic Q, give 3 votes and 7 horse Whiskey Decision. 5-7-6-8 Super, 5-7 in the multi race. Let's head over to race number 11 from Gulfstream, which is the Inside Information Stakes. It's a grade 2 event going for a $225,000 purse race for fillies, mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 12 horses going the 1,400 meter journey or 7 furlongs on the main track. Take as a top selection here the number 11 horse Grand Job. I'm going to go 11-12-8-3 in the superfecta. 11-12-8-3 super. Top selection 11 horse Grand Job. This 5-year-old mare by Justified. Belmont trains. Junior Alvarado gets the mount. They ran the horse most recently on 27th November at Churchill. 3/4 of a mile, an optional 100 claimer. First start since March. She finished 8th by 10 lengths. She was dueling, flying on the front end early on. But then she just couldn't keep up late. She weakened out of it. He needed the race. Here it is a more tougher spot. Coming to 7 furlongs, second off the bench. You know, Belmont a little bit better numbered second off the bench. I think this horse is going to be reared to go. Also, back to a track this horse ran very well in the past. She ran terrifically 20th of March last year over the 1 turn mile and off 6-2, winning by 5 lengths. She kept going on the front end. A very good handle victory that day. And then prior to that, in the Royal Delta over the mile 16th of February, she finished second by 3/4 length that day. She had a bit of a wide trip that day. Well, early on wide from a wide post draw, but she set the pace, and then she just kind of got caught in the wire. She just couldn't keep the speed momentum there. But she won a very nice allowance race at Church over the 1 turn mile prior to that by 8 3/4. She had a lot of speed into her. Other than the last race, which was a little subpar, races stateside haven't been half bad at all. 6-1, I'm going to use her. I think her biggest competition is 12 horse Verity for Ian Hardy and Vincent Chimenon and Godolphin. Hasn't won since the Beaumont. That came on the slap of Keeneland back in April. Over the about 7 furlongs, she won by 5 1/4 lengths that day. Came home with an 84 buyer. That was a very good clear victory. Came back to run the 8 bells after that, where she finished the eighth by 5 lengths, where she just never really got into it. Came back for November in that 6 furlong allowance race. A lot of these horses are coming out of same race that Grand Job's coming out of. Grand Job ran horribly. This horse came from a track trip. She placed that day. I didn't think she ran half bad. She's running well Tampa. That's a very deep track since then. Coming here to not as much of a deep track. I like the Y poster for a closer here. 12-1. Watch out for a run here late. But to recap my selection now for the 11th from Gulfstream, it's the inside information stakes. Going to take the 11 horse Grand Job. Give kudos to the 12 horse Verity. 11 12 8 3 Super. 11 12 in the multi race to the 12th race now. 12th race from Gulfstream. It is the Pegasus World Cup turf. It's a grade one event going for $1 million purse race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 13 horses entered, but only 12 could go the 1,800-meter journey or a mile and a eighth on the turf course. This race will be run on the outer portion of the turf course. My top selection here, I'm going to go with the number 10 horse, who is Sugino. 10-1-2-7 for me in the superfecta. 10-1-2-7 super. Top selection 10 horse Sugino. This 5-year-old horse by Twirling Candy. Doug McGahee trains. John Velasquez gets the mount. They ran the horse most recently on the 20th of December at Gulfstream, a mile and the eighth in Fort Lauderdale Stakes. And she finished second by 3/4 of a length that day. And she just stalked all around the race course. Wolfie's Dinah Ghost won in track record time very impressively. This horse just kind of came up on the, a little driving that day. He just missed late, but he ran his heart out. Refreshing back to this turf course where this horse run very well in the past. I think he's finally sitting on a very good race. Ran two back in the Red Smith over the mile 3 furlongs at Aqueduct in early November. Off the 2 month bench and over a longer trip, he won by a nose that day. He only had a small group of horses to beat that day, but he finally did that. A very good run after all said and done. And then the Red Bank at Monmouth over the mile and on Labor Day weekend, winning by a length that day. Another small group of horses. He was wide, but he got the job done. Like I said, he likes this turf course. He won the Tropical Park Derby here last December from a very wide trip, and that's his only victory here. But he's had great places. Played in the Colonel Liam here as a 3-year-old a couple seasons ago. Placed last time out of the Fort Lauderdale, and placed a couple seasons ago prior to that in the autumn of 24. Or excuse me, in the winter of 24. Excuse me. But he always runs these good races. The mile furlong suit him well. The ideal, I'd rather have a little bit better poster with him, but I think he could, find a trip here. I'm going to use him on the ticket. I think the one horse test score for Manny Franco and Graham Moshquin also. First time older horses against the 3-year-olds last year. Wasn't running bad at all. Won the Twilight Derby from a wide trip at Santa Anita. Came back to a very good place in the Hollywood Derby after that. He won the Belmont Derby earlier in the season and got a very good place in the Saratoga Derby. His only subpar race was the Nashville Derby. So they can look at all these derbies he's been running into as of recently. It's going to be his first non-derby race into about May. But the only subpar race was that Nashville Derby where he just was a little bit wide, just not into it that day. But coming back to this turf course, we had a decent place in last year's Kitten's Joy. I'll give him a shot at 8-1 and go throughout the Chad Brown 2 horse program rating. Hasn't won since the spring of 24. That was in the Turf Classic at Churchill, where he won by a head. He had to grind it out to the wire, but finally did. Came back from the Mcknight after that Saratoga where he ran horribly. Then he didn't see the horse for about 14 months. Came back from the Bernard Brook, ran a decent place, ran down to momentum, decent place in the Keeneland Turf Mile after that, and then ran horribly in the British Cup Mile after that, where he had a very, very troubled trip. Off the bench back to this turf course with hopefully a clearer trip. I think he can improve off that run. Let's use him in the late pick four in this very wide open race. But to recount my selection for the 12th now from Gulfstream, it's the Pegasus World Cup turf. We're going to take the the 10 horse, excuse me, Sagino as the top selection. Give kudos to the one horse test score and the two horse program trading. 10-1-2-7 Super, 10-1 in the multi race. The featured 13th race now from Gulfstream, the night cap on the program. It is the Pegasus World Cup Invitational. It's a grade one event going for a $3 million purse. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. 14 horses entered, only 12 could go 1,800 meters or a lap around the Gulfstream Park main track, which is a mile and eighth in circumference. My top selection here, I'm going to go with the 7 horse Tappan Street, 7-1-11-8 for me in the superfecta, 7-1-11-8 super, top selection 7 horse Tappan Street, Boreal Colbane to the mischief, Brad Cox trains, Luis Saez gets the mount. They ran the horse most recently, 19th December at Gulfstream, 1 turn mile off, 6-2 claimer. It was his return to the races. He got the job done. They didn't want to get to the bottom of the horse. He won by length. It was a good return to the races. He's run well here today, second off the bench back against older horses. I think he can find a trip to win. He won from a wide trip here in the Florida Derby back in late April, one of my 1/4 lengths. He stalked, he got the lead, he quickened up nicely, and he beat the Derby winner home and the Belmont and Travers winner home, Sovereignty, who just had a bit of a wider trip than him. But this horse, he won clear that day. And then prior to on the behind Burnham Square in the Holy Bull, he finished second by 1/4 lengths. He stalked, he had a lead, and then he just got a little lax of days going that final, 16th of a mile, where he just couldn't get there late. He likes running here. He's only run here basically. He's training well pace, and I think he's going to be a little bit more cranked up than he was last time out. I think he can improve off that run. I'm going to give him a shot here on the ticket, this $1 million purchase. I think his biggest, challenger here is from his own barn, the 1 horse Disco Time for Brad Cox, Jedmon, and Flavian. He won the Dwyer by 9 3/4 lengths most recently on the 8th of November. One of my 9 3/4 lengths from a tracking trip. He came home clear that day. Prior to that Fairmount in the St. Louis Derby, he won by 5 1/4 lengths. Again on the front end, he won easily. His only subpar, race was still a win in the Lecomte, where he had a very wide trip, where he had to be used a lot that day to get there. He took every good advantage of that extra 16th of a mile, but he got the job winning by a neck that day. He's done everything right. He's run terrific triple-digit buyers. First time older horses. It wouldn't surprise me if he takes the shortest way around from the inside. 8 to 5 crap price, but I think he's a logical chance of winning in this race. I'm going to use him in the pick four. But to recap my selection for the 13th now from Goldstrom, it's Pegasus World Cup. Going to take the 7 horse Tappan Street. Give kudos to the 1 horse Disco Time. 7-1-11-8 Super. 7-1 in the multi race. So good luck to all. Please follow me on X at Horse Racing Kid 5. Good luck, everybody.